backing Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza plan. 13 members supported the measure while Russia and China abstained. Now, Hamas dismissed the resolution, arguing it ignores core Palestinian rights and demands. What does this vote mean for the conflict's next phase, and how will regional players respond? We'll get you all the details on the show.
Also on World DNA, a Bangladesh court has sentenced ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death for crimes against humanity tied to last year's crackdown on protesters. Now, Hasina, still in India, called the ruling politically motivated. We bring you the latest on that. Let's start with the headlines. This is World DNA.
India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah says those responsible for Red Fort bomb blast will be tracked down even from the depths of the netherworld and brought before a country's judicial system to face harshest punishment.
Bangladesh's Awami League calls for nationwide shutdown today, along with protests from November 19th to the 21st, rejecting ICT verdict, which handed the death sentence to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and to others.
The UN Security Council votes in favor of U.S. drafted resolution bolstering Trump's Gaza peace plan that includes deployment of international force. 13 countries back resolution, with Russia and China abstaining.
It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax.
Donald Trump says he will sign a bill to release the Epstein files if Congress passes it, calling it a Democrat problem and accusing prominent Democrats, including Bill Clinton, of ties to the late financier.
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs.
Donald Trump says he is willing to authorize military strikes inside Mexico should he deem it necessary to halt flow of illegal narcotics entering the United States.
Donald Trump says the United States will sell F-35 stealth fighters to Saudi Arabia a day before Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman visits the White House for talks.
UK government announces sweeping asylum reforms that sharply reduce protections for refugees and their children, aiming to curb a surge in irregular migration that has intensified far-right anger.
True leadership means service and support at a scale that will truly make a difference. Stronger climate actions will create stronger and fairer economic systems.
Pope Leo appeals for concrete actions on climate change, suggesting that some leaders lack political will to act as he addresses religious leaders on the sidelines of the COP30 summit.
Shares of Google's parent company Alphabet rallied about 6% to hit a record high on Monday. That came after Berkshire Hathaway's rare tech bet with $4.9 billion new stake provided an endorsement of the tech giant's AI efforts amid worries over a looming bubble.
Give visa appointment priority to travelers with tickets to the 2026 World Cup. The next year is set for next June and July in the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
Now, the United Nations Security Council has voted in favor of a U.S. drafted resolution.
Now, this resolution endorses Donald Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza. Included in the plan is the establishment of an International Stabilization Force, ISF, and a path to a future Palestinian state. Now, there were 13 votes in favor of the text, with only Russia and China abstaining, no vetoes.
Now, Trump posted on social media that the vote, which he said acknowledges and endorses the Board of Peace chaired by him, will go down as one of the biggest approvals in the history of UN. He said it will lead to further peace all over the world.
U.S. Ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz said that after the vote, the resolution represents another significant step that will enable Gaza to prosper and an environment that will allow Israel to live in security.
Now, the text, which was revised several times as a result of high-stakes negotiations, authorizes the creation of ISF that would work with Israel and Egypt and newly trained Palestinian police to help secure border areas and demilitarize the Gaza Strip. The ISF is mandated to work on the permanent decommissioning of weapons from non-state armed groups, protecting civilians and securing humanitarian aid corridors.
Hamas, which is excluded by the resolution from any governance role in Gaza, said that the resolution did not meet Palestinians' political and humanitarian demands and rights. And the group reasoned that aligning the international force with tasks and roles inside Gaza, including disarming the resistance, strips it of its neutrality and turns it into a party to the conflict in favor of the occupation.
The resolution also authorizes the formation of a Board of Peace, a transitional governing body for Gaza, which Trump would chair with a mandate until the end of 2027. It also raises the possibility of a Palestinian state, something Israel strongly opposes.
The text says once the Palestinian Authority has carried out requested reforms and the rebuilding of Gaza is underway, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood. A path to future statehood was included following pressure from key Arab states. It also calls for the resumptions of humanitarian aid deliveries at scale through UN, ICRC and Red Crescent.
And this is the resolution that has been passed. And of course, it approves Trump's 20-point peace plan. Of course, we have to see how it all evolves on the ground. But so far, we do see some ceasefire there. Israel is still attacking some Hamas outlets, as they call it. But we, of course, have to say how that all goes.
Till now, it has sustained in some degree, but the International Stabilization Force, what will that mean for the Gaza Strip?
Absolutely.
That's something that we will need to wait and watch, because that's a tricky subject. Who all are going to be the stakeholders there? It's going to be helmed by Trump. Does that mean US eventually has full control of the Strip? And it's paving the path for Palestinian statehood, which has always been, and it still seems to be, a red line for Israel.
A sticking point, absolutely.
Netanyahu very recently also said that they do not agree to it.
Absolutely.
So what's the future of this kind of a resolution?
Now, what's the future for Hamas as well? I mean, they have, of course, not said anything about the disarmament yet. So, of course, how does that evolve when these forces come in and Palestinian police is there? So what is the role of Hamas? Of course, that's a question we have to, of course, talk about. And, of course, we'll have to, it is yet to see how this whole plan formalizes on the ground.
The latest we have for you is that the United Nations Security Council has voted in favor of a US drafted resolution. And Russia is raining Ukraine with guided bombs, drones and cruise missiles as the war enters another winter.
Ukraine has been scrambling to defend against Russia's bombing campaign. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has signed a deal with France to procure 100 Rafale warplanes over the next 10 years. Is it a realistic one? Take a look at our next report to know more.
Explosions tear through the front lines. Fire rises over shattered cities. Ukraine and Russia are locked in a grinding war, now stretching into another winter which looks gloomy. Russia has launched a coordinated attack on Kharkiv, Sumy and Odessa. Russian forces rained down waves of drone and missile strikes. Ukraine claims Moscow fired Iskander-M ballistic missiles and 128 strike and decoy drones across the country. The decoys are meant to overwhelm the missile defense systems, enabling the rest of the incoming missiles to hit the targets with precision. Russia is constantly changing its tactics, designed to have the maximum devastation. Moscow is now developing glide bombs with a range of up to 400 kilometers. Glide bombs are much cheaper compared to missiles, which will enable the Russian military to strike even more Ukrainian cities without using missiles. Apart from drones and missiles, Russia now increasingly striking Ukraine with hypersonic cruise missiles by launching them not only from sea but land as well. Zircon missile is capable of reaching a range of more than 1,000 kilometers at a speed of Mach 9. Russia claims the missile significantly exceeds the capabilities of all known types of Western missiles. The trail of devastation on the ground, city after city, town after town, reflects Russia's aggressive campaign. As Ukraine's air defense systems scramble to defend against Russian drones and missiles, President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Paris to bolster the country's long-term military capabilities. Ukraine has signed a deal with France to obtain 100 Rafale warplanes over the next 10 years.
The first thing is that Ukraine will be able to receive 100 Rafale F-4 aircraft, very powerful French radars, 8 air defense systems, SAMP-T, 6 launchers each. Well, these are details, probably technical details for someone, but for us it is important. Each launcher, all this is the protection of every life. This is very important.
But experts point out, where will Kyiv get the money from? A Rafale jet costs approximately $70 million to over $125 million, depending on the specific variant and package purchased. Ukraine has largely relied upon aids from its Western allies. This multi-billion Rafale deal announcement seems more of an optics. This comes at a time when Zelensky's government is grappling with a $100 million corruption scandal. The Ukrainian president's approval rating has dropped by 40% in a week.
Now, U.S. President Donald Trump is reversing course, saying he will sign the bill to release the Epstein files if Congress approves it and sends it to his desk.
And from the Oval Office, Trump told reporters that he is all for it and said that the administration would turn over everything. Trump also said that he doesn't want the issue to take away from what he calls the Republican Party's achievements. The shift follows similar remarks he made on Sunday night, a notable change after previously pushing back on the proposal, even as more Republicans lined up behind it. The House is moving towards a vote and the bill is expected to pass.
All I want for people to recognize a great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages.
The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse have released a video clip in coordination with a coalition dedicated to ending sexual exploitation. They are calling on Congress to approve the release of Epstein files.
Lawmakers recently made public a trove of emails from Epstein's estate. In one, Epstein claimed that Donald Trump spent hours with one of his victims at Trump's residence. In another, he referred to the president as dirty. And Caribbean waters are on the boil. America's war machine is on the move.
And Trump is pulling the lever on a gamble that could reshape the Western Hemisphere. Showdown Bill's Venezuela now lies squarely in the crosshairs. Now, our next report takes a close look at the American military moves, which shows the threat of a full-blown war is real.
The shadow of war now looms over the Caribbean. America's USS Gerald R. Ford has plowed into South American waters. It is the world's largest aircraft carrier and the largest warship ever constructed. It is flanked by missile destroyers and a swarm of aircraft, with 12,000 US troops on high alert. Trump's Whirlwind, a campaign of precision naval strikes, 21 explosive operations in a matter of weeks, allegedly smashed Venezuelan narco boats, leaving casualties in their wake.
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
But behind that rhetoric and diplomatic outreach, there is a far more dangerous calculus. US military planners reportedly have options on the table, including strikes on Venezuelan soil. The build-up for America's Operation Southern Spear is massive. The carrier strike group brings stealth fighters, long-range missiles, surveillance aircraft, and more than 4,000 extra troops. Trump insists that he doesn't need Congress to act, as he has the firepower to follow through. Analysts say the US is sitting on enough Tomahawk missiles to strike deep. Venezuela's response has been fierce. Maduro has publicly declared maximum preparedness, mobilizing troops, civilian militias, and issuing fiery warnings. He is calling the American buildup a blatant imperial push, not a counter-narcotics mission.
It is to the people of the United States that I speak to at this moment, before these 100 jurists from 34 countries, to say, stop the insane hand of those who order bombing, killing and bringing war to South America, to the Caribbean. Stop the war. No to war.
This entire American operation hinges on one razor-thin element: surprise. The White House is banking on speed, ensuring that the world thinks this is 0 hour. Every minute that passes increases the risk of escalation. The world watches. Will Trump start a war as he aspires to get a Nobel Peace Prize for stopping multiple conflicts? Bureau Report, WION. World is One.
Now, tiny machines diving through human veins, a new frontier where magnets, medicine, and microengineering collide. When internal blockages threaten survival, speed and accuracy are everything.
Now, a revolutionary new approach is set to turn every blood vessel into a navigable waterway. Our next story explains the promise micro robots hold.
They are smaller than a grain of sand. They move with the precision of a guided missile, and they might reshape the future of how we deliver life-saving drugs inside the human body. These magnetic micro-robots, engineered by researchers at ETH Zurich, are part machine, part miracle. Their mission is simple: carry medicine exactly where it's needed without letting it waste or wander through the rest of the body. Right now, stroke treatment is a race against time. A clot blocks a blood vessel. Brain cells begin to die. Doctors inject drugs to dissolve the blockage. But those drugs don't travel with purpose, they spread everywhere. To make sure enough of the medicine reaches the clot, doctors must give a high dose, and that can lead to dangerous side effects, including internal bleeding. A life-saving drug becomes a balancing act. This is where the micro-robots step in. Guided by magnetic fields, they can swim through blood vessels and steer like underwater drones. They can be directed to move upstream, dodge obstacles, turn corners, and finally arrive at the blocked vessel. Once they reach the clot, they drop their tiny cargo, powerful drugs delivered exactly where the fight is. But this is still the beginning. The technology is in experimental stages, tested in lab conditions and models that mimic the flow of human blood. Researchers are optimistic, but they emphasize one thing clearly. These micro-robots need more testing, more validation, and rigorous checks before they can be used in real patients.
Well, now it's time for a very short break on World Day, but don't go anywhere. On the other side, Bangladesh's former ruling Awami League party has called for a nationwide shutdown and protest against death sentences handed down to ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. We'll get you all the details on the other side.
China is expanding its nuclear test site in the far western desert. Expert analysis shows new tunnels, chambers as well. More details on the other side of this very short break. This is World DNA. Come right back.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate tracker on WION World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RS's centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate tracker on WION World is One.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur als 5%.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Jyotsna. I'm Shivan. Let's start with the headlines.
Democratic Republic of Congo's Minerals Minister Kabamba and his delegation survived a plane crash at Kolwezi Airport during the landing. The minister was on way to Kalando following a deadly artisanal mine collapse.
North Korea condemns a deal between Seoul and Washington to build nuclear-powered submarines, warning that it will trigger a nuclear domino effect after South Korean President Lee confirms finalization of the agreement.
Donald Trump says the United States will sell F-35 stealth fighters to Saudi Arabia a day before Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman visits the White House for talks.
We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get their things here, how they get the drugs here, fentanyl, cocaine.
Donald Trump says he wants to knock out cocaine factories in Colombia, but stops short of announcing any direct military intervention. Also says he does not rule out sending US troops to Venezuela.
The UN Security Council votes in favor of U.S. drafted resolution bolstering Trump's Gaza peace plan that includes deployment of international force. 13 countries back resolution with Russia and China abstaining.
It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax.
US President says he will sign a bill to release the Epstein files if Congress passes it, calling it a Democrat problem and accusing prominent Democrats, including Bill Clinton, of ties to the late financier Epstein.
India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah says those responsible for Red Fort bomb blasts will be tracked down even from the depths of Netherworld and brought before a country's judicial system to face harshest punishment.
Bangladesh Awami League calls for a nationwide shutdown today, along with protests from November 19th through the 21st, rejecting ICT verdict which handed death sentences to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and two others.
India's goods trade deficit surged to a record $41.68 billion in October, driven by a steep rise in gold and silver import, while exports dropped nearly 12%, compounding the trade imbalance.
Kylian Mbappe and PSG take their financial feud to a Paris labor court. The forward seeking around $301 million from his former club, while with his former club demanding around $279 million from the player.
Now, Bangladesh's Awami League Party has called for a nationwide shutdown in protest against death sentences handed down to ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan.
The shutdown follows a landmark ruling by the International Crimes Tribunal in Dhaka, the ICT, which convicted both leaders of crimes against humanity. Hasina and Khan, currently in exile in India, were sentenced in absentia.
The charges are linked to the deadly crackdown involving lethal force during July-August 2024 uprising, which marked the end of Hasina's 15-year tenure. According to a UN report from February, the death toll is estimated to be up to 1,400.
Calling the verdict biased and politically motivated, Sheikh Hasina said the charges were unjustified, arguing that she and Khan acted in good faith and were trying to minimize the loss of life.
The verdict announced by the court today has been rejected by the people of Bengal. We do not accept this verdict. We are holding a nationwide shutdown to protest against this verdict. We want to state clearly that our movement will continue and become even more intense until the Mohammed Yunus, head of the interim government steps down.
India's Ministry of External Affairs issued a statement claiming that it has noted the verdict announced by the International Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh concerning former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. It stated that as a close neighbor, India remains committed to the best interests of the people of Bangladesh, including in peace, democracy, inclusion and stability in that country. India said it will always engage constructively with all stakeholders to that end.
Bangladesh's Chief Advisor Mohammed Yunus had welcomed the verdict. He said that it upholds a key principle that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law. And Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's son Sajid Wajid, who lives in the US, has denounced his mother's death sentence as a complete sham, claiming that she was not allowed to choose her own lawyers. In an exclusive interview with WION's Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, he also accused the Yunus regime of aligning with the Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami and turning Bangladesh into an extension of Pakistan. Listen to this.
With me is the son of the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina. Sir, welcome to WION. Sir, first question to you. What's your view about the verdict that has been announced by the Bangladeshi tribunal?
Right now, you have a government, a regime that is completely unelected and undemocratic. They had to amend the laws to fast-track this trial, which you cannot amend the law without parliament. And then a trial of this historic nature was conducted within 100 days, which is, again, that's impossible. And my mother wasn't even allowed to select her own attorneys. Our attorneys were barred from going near the courts at all. And she was defended by a public defender. So this was a sham trial. We knew what the verdict was going to be. Everybody knew what the verdict was going to be.
What do you see in terms of the future course of action?
Right now, there is no rule of law in Bangladesh. This regime is doing everything completely illegally, and the courts are rubber stamping everything. So right now, there's no point in trying to do anything. There's no legal avenue. But in the future, when the rule of law returns, because everything in this trial was done so illegally, it will all get thrown out.
There has been a statement by the Bangladeshi Foreign Ministry urging India for extradition as well. What's your take on that?
My take is simple. Request has to be legal to comply with any treaties. Again, illegal regime, illegally amended laws, sham trials. Why would the government of any country comply with such an illegal request?
All right, let's move on to other global news now. Tensions between China and Japan are deepening, with Beijing formally ruling out a leaders' meeting at the upcoming G20 summit in South Africa.
Now, both Chinese Premier Li Qiang and Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takichi will be in Johannesburg later this month, but hopes for a face-to-face dialogue have now faded as disagreements over Taiwan continue to widen the divide between the two Asian powers.
Now, the latest chill in relations began after Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi told a parliamentary committee that a military attack by mainland China on Taiwan could amount to a survival-threatening situation for Japan, language that could open the door for the deployment of Japan's self-defense forces. Her remarks were widely seen as a departure from Tokyo's long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity on Taiwan.
They also came just days after Chinese President Xi Jinping warned the new Japanese leader during their first sit-down meeting that Tokyo must strictly adhere to bilateral political understandings on the Taiwan issue if ties are to remain, and this is in his words, if they're sound and unshaken.
The diplomatic fallout has already spread beyond government circles. Chinese airlines have reported nearly 500,000 ticket cancellations to Japan since the weekend, about 32% of all bookings after Beijing advised its citizens to avoid travel to Japan.
In an attempt to contain the escalating row, Japan has sent senior foreign ministry official Masaki Kanai to Beijing.
Now he is set to meet his counterpart, Liu Jin-sung. Kanai is expected to convey that Japan's overall security stance remains unchanged and to urge Beijing to avoid actions that further damage the bilateral relationship.
Now, meanwhile, the tension is part of a wider regional picture. China's defense ministry says that it has lodged strong representations with the United States over Washington's latest arms sale to Taiwan, an approved package worth $330 million in fighter jets and aircraft parts. Beijing has vowed to take all necessary measures to defend what it calls its national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Against this backdrop of rising uncertainty, Taiwan is taking new steps to prepare its population. The island will begin distributing millions of civil defense handbooks to households this week, offering guidance on locating bomb shelters, preparing emergency kits, and most notably, what to do in the event citizens encounter enemy soldiers. The handbook also warns residents to treat any claims of Taiwan's surrender as false.
And China is expanding its nuclear test site in the far western desert now.
The expert analysis show new tunnels, chambers, and support buildings at the Lopnur site. This is the same site where China carried out its first atomic bomb test in 1964.
Now, according to reports, the activity suggests Beijing may be preparing for future nuclear tests, and the expansion comes as global nuclear tensions rise further. US President Trump has announced plans for America to restart nuclear weapons testing on what he called an equal basis with other countries. Trump said that China and Russia have been carrying out secret nuke tests.
And recently, Russia tested a new underwater torpedo that is autonomous and nuclear capable. The weapon, known as Poseidon, is designed to travel long distances under the sea while carrying a nuclear payload.
In addition, Russia successfully tested the Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered cruise missile designed to carry nuclear warheads. Reports say these tests highlight Moscow's growing focus on advanced nuclear systems.
Now, this has unsettled nuclear powers and stirred memories of Cold War-era competition. Beijing's military buildup in the remote desert shows Chinese leaders have been preparing for this scenario for years. China's growing nuclear effort fits into President Xi Jinping's plan to modernize the armed forces. His goal is to build a world-class military by the middle of this century.
Now, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, China's nuclear arsenal is growing, with about 600 warheads estimated as of 2025. The United States and Russia dominate with approximately 5,000 to 6,000 nuclear warheads each. Pakistan currently possesses around 170 nuclear warheads, while India's arsenal is slightly larger at about 180 warheads.
Now, nuclear tests remain banned under the 1996 Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The treaty forbids all nuclear explosions. China and the U.S. have signed it but never ratified it. Russia withdrew its ratification in 2023. Analysts warned that renewed testing could spark a global arms race. They say decades of non-proliferation progress could be lost if nuclear testing resumes. Now, at a time when several economic indicators are flashing warning signs, one industry is unexpectedly booming. Buy now, pay later.
Industry veterans warn that it could be an early red flag for deeper stress in the economy and a risk building quietly beneath the surface. More in this next report.
At a time when several economic indicators are flashing red, from rising unemployment to falling consumer confidence, one industry is booming. Buy now, pay later. And that boom is adding to the worries. More Americans are turning to BNPL not for luxury purchases but for everyday essentials. Even industry veterans say it's a clear sign of financial strain. The concern isn't about the size of BNPL, it's the fact that most of this debt is invisible. With no reporting to credit bureaus, borrowers can stack loans across platforms and lenders have no way to see the full picture. This lack of visibility has created what regulators describe as phantom debt, a shadow layer of obligations sitting outside the formal system. Early signs show consumers juggling multiple BNPL loans at once, often while already carrying traditional debt. And all this is happening against a softer economic backdrop, higher joblessness, tighter household budgets, and the return of student loan payments. Yet, at the same time, regulatory oversight has been rolled back, leaving only scattered state rules. The system isn't in crisis yet, but it's operating with very limited visibility into who owes what and for how long. What makes this even more concerning is how deeply BNPL has now spread. It's embedded in Apple Pay, Google Pay, retail checkouts, bank apps, and even small business lending. And behind the scenes, BNPL debt is already being packaged and sold to investors, much like subprime loans were in the mid-2000s. The real risk isn't that BNPL collapses on its own, it's the people keep these small installments current while falling behind on bigger obligations like car loans or credit cards, creating a ripple effect. Industry experts are not predicting a crash but urging vigilance because it's the debt we cannot see that tends to hurt the most. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One. All right, we have some breaking news just coming in. The Enforcement Directorate is conducting raids at the Okhla office of the Al-Falah University.
And the university is under scanner for the blast near the Red Fort in Delhi that killed at least 10 people. Dr. Omar Nabi, the bomber himself, was an assistant professor in Al-Falah University in the General Medicine Department. The raids that started early in the morning come after the government ordered a forensic audit of all Al-Falah University records.
Now, this is besides asking the ED and other financial investigative agencies to probe the university's finances and check for suspicious money trails. Now, this is the breaking news coming in. The Enforcement Directorate is conducting raids at the Okhla office of Al-Falah University. This has been happening from about 5 a.m. local time in the morning.
Now, Al-Falah University has been under the radar ever since 10th of November as the suicide bomber Dr. Omar Nabi was linked back to this university where he was teaching. He was a professor there in the Department of Medicine. Not just him, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Shaheen, they have also been employed at Al-Falah University. And Nisar ul Hassan, who was ousted from Jammu and Kashmir under charges of security to the state security, that are charges of terrorism, he also found employment in Al-Falah University and has not been traceable since the 10th of November. A lot of strings linking right back, and now the raid is on in their Okhla office. A man convicted over 2020 Twitter hack targeting high-profile figures, including former US President Barack Obama, has been ordered to repay $40 million.
Now, of course, this is worth of Bitcoin. Now, Britain's Crown Prosecution Service said it had obtained a civil recovery order to seize 42 Bitcoin and other crypto assets linked to the scam, which involved using hijacked accounts to solicit digital currency and threaten celebrities.
I quote here, "We were able to use the full force of the powers available to us to ensure that even when someone is not convicted in the UK, they do not benefit from their criminality," said prosecutor Adrian Foster. The culprit, Joseph James O'Connor, 26 years old, pleaded guilty in the US to charges including computer intrusion, wire fraud and extortion, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2023. O'Connor was arrested in Spain in 2021 and extradited to the US after the High Court ruled the US was best placed to prosecute him.
Now, the latest order follows a property freezing order during extradition proceedings. The assets will be liquidated by a court-appointed trustee. The July 2020 attack compromised accounts of former U.S. Presidents Joe Biden and Barack Obama, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Kim Kardashian.
And this prompted Twitter, now called X, to temporarily restrict verified accounts.
France captain Kylian Mbappe seeking 263 million euros, that's around $301 million from PSG.
And in return, his former club is demanding $279 million from the player as their long-running dispute reached a Paris labour court on Monday. The 26-year-old Real Madrid forward is claiming the sum, which includes 55 million euros in unpaid wages. He says it is compensation for a contract dispute and alleged mistreatment by PSG. Meanwhile, PSG wants their own payout. They are arguing that they deserve compensation for Mbappe's failed 300 million euro move to Saudi club Al Hilal in 2023. Mbappe instead joined Real Madrid on a free transfer the following summer, and a ruling from the tribunal is expected in the coming weeks.
The dispute dates back to July 2023 when Mbappe refused to move to the Saudi Pro League. Mbappe believes he was punished for that decision and for refusing to sign a contract extension. The fallout led to Mbappe being excluded from PSG's preseason tour of Asia. He also missed their first match of the season before eventually being reinstated to the squad. PSG claimed this followed the player's agreement to forego some of his end-of-contract payments to protect the club's financial health.
However, Mbappe's representatives have dismissed this as fantasy, saying he is still owed salary and bonuses. PSG said that they want recognition of the significant damages they suffered, accusing Mbappe of serious breaches of his contract. The club says he acted disloyally by hiding for 11 months that he would not extend his deal. They also denied any harassment or pressure, arguing that he enjoyed exceptional conditions during his 7 years there. Mbappe was at PSG from 2017 to 2024 and scored 256 goals in 308 games.
Kylian Mbappé pour son dernier et qui se hisse à la 10e place.
All right, with that, we call a wrap to World DNA. But before we go, here's a look at all the climate stories making headlines across the world. We'll be back with more news and updates after a very short break. Thanks for watching. Keep watching WION World.